This, my friends, is a clear indication to me that we do not need a restrictive timed entry program on this hike. It is nothing more than a money grab. A corporation is making nearly $100,000 in a 9-month period to tell you you need a timed entry permit to go up a hike that the numbers are only half of what they want to cap the hike at. You see the problem here? We're being juiced. All right, friends. Well, welcome back to Park Junkie. Todd C. coming to you here from the great indoors. A rainy afternoon outside. It's going to take a ride on this beast or that beast or one of these beasts today, but it's just not that enjoyable when it's pouring rain out there. So here we are in the shop, and I just came across some information that I want to let you know about. Tomorrow there will be a virtual meeting held by officials from Shenandoah National Park there in Virginia. They're going to be releasing the data. Actually, they've already released the data, but they're going to be discussing the data from the 2022 pilot program that required timed entry reservations via rec.gov on Old Rag Mountain. Now, for those of you who don't know Old Rag, one of the coolest adventure hikes on the East Coast, I hiked this trail on August 4th, which was a Sunday afternoon in 2019, and the trail certainly not congested. Yes, there were people out there, but you have to expect that there are going to be some people on the trail. It was nowhere near a level that I would have considered dangerous or unenjoyable. There were people on the summit of the mountain, but I had my own space. Anybody who wanted their own space certainly had that, and coming down the trail, I hardly saw a soul. The initial implementation of this pilot program, I was sort of taken aback, and I'm like, this is just another money-making opportunity for the giant corporation. And as we see by looking into this data, now I'm going to have a link in the description below from the data that the National Park Service will be discussing tomorrow evening. And it shows that the numbers are nowhere near what they expected them to be either. Let's jump into this document. You can see here that this pink area in the map, this is the area in which you need a day use ticket. You find the Ridge Trail running from the Old Rag parking area down there up the Ridge Trail to the summit at 3,291 feet, and then on down the Saddle Trail to the Wheatley Hollow Fire Road and out. This ticketing season began March 1st, 2022 and ended November 30th, 2022. A total of 275 days. So 9 months, 275 days. During that period of time, a total of 95,444 tickets to the summit of Old Rag were sold through rec.gov at $1 a piece. So my friends, that means that rec.gov, Booz Allen Hamilton, is getting $95,444 for you to be able to hike up a trail. And let's take a look at those numbers and see whether you think it's really necessary to be limiting numbers on this trail. So the Park Service has set a top limit for tickets of 800 per day, meaning they don't think it's safe or enjoyable for more than 800 people a day to be traveling up Old Rag Mountain. So they've capped the reservation, the timed entry tickets, at 800. Out of the 275 days that were in that pilot period, there were only 20 days where they reached that 800 number. Now, of those 20 days, 19 of them were weekend days, and only one was not a weekend. So of course the weekends are busier, right? We all know that. Seasonally, let's break it down seasonally, just like this little chart does right here. During the spring, you see that we were sold out 6 days. And in the summer, we didn't sell out any days. And in the fall, we sold out 14 days, 13 of which were weekends. So in the spring, they were all weekends. And in the fall, they were all weekends except for one. And it goes on to say, as expected, there was a strong correlation between number of tickets sold and the number of hikers recorded on the trails. And this is interesting. Many days showed fewer hikers than tickets sold. This seems to have occurred mostly on days of inclement weather, which resulted in unused tickets. Now, of course, as we know, you don't get your money back on days of inclement weather, so the corporation keeps all of that money. Some ticket purchasers also appeared to have bought tickets for multiple days, typically consecutive, but only hiked one of those days, leaving the other tickets unused. So that means that there's probably even less than the 800 people per day hitting these trails on those weekends, because obviously if you're going out to Shenandoah for the weekend and you want to buy a ticket and to go up Old Rag, you can buy it for Sunday and Saturday as well. If it's sold out one of those days, you can probably be fairly certain that there is one of those days that some of these people are not using that ticket. Moving on down through this document, Old Rag hikers, fall was the busiest season, and the weekend numbers account pretty much for half of the total numbers on Old Rag during that pilot period in 2022. You can see this chart here, these little nice blue, red, and yellow lines. The red line at the top is 800, and you can see that several days where they're getting close to hitting that 800, it's always on the weekend, except for that one day, October 14th, it looks like, in 2022, a big day there on the mountain. But every other day was a weekend. Now, you keep in mind here, there were 39 weekends, which would mean there were 78 weekend days, and only 19 of those, actually capped out. So what we have to question from this is if we are only seeing the numbers hit that peak number 25% of weekend days and less than 10% of days overall, does that justify having a permit system on this, a timed entry system on this trail in this park? Let's go on here a little ways. October was the busiest month, averaging 468 hikers a day. So they want 800 hikers a day max. And right here you can see that they only averaged in their busiest month 468 hikers per day. So how can we justify keeping this reservation system in place if the numbers are nowhere near what you would cap the hike for? So we're seeing that as an issue. Let's go on down here and check out this chart, trail use by day of the week. And you can see here that Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, the numbers never they barely one day in the fall, the average number of hikers on a Friday was 425. At no other point during the week do they even reach half of the amount that they want to cap that trail at of 800. Weekends, they average in the fall 400 on Saturday 726 people per day. So they're averaging 75 people below the ticket cap, and as we just discussed earlier, we know that there are a number of people who aren't actually using their tickets because they're buying multiple days and only using one of them. This, my friends, is a clear indication to me that we do not need a restrictive timed entry program on this hike. It is nothing more than a money grab. A corporation is making nearly $100,000 in a 9-month period to tell you need a timed entry permit to go up a hike that the numbers are only half of what they want to cap the hike at. You see the problem here? We're being juiced. And here's what's going on with the Park Service in this. They are extending this pilot program for another season so they can gather more data. They know that they can't justify the system as it is, so they need to extend it, and hopefully more people come onto the trail this year so we can really show that we need this restrictive system in place, because right now they just don't have it. So instead of ending the pilot program and saying, well, it really turned out we had a lot less congestion up there than we figured in the first place, no, they're going to say, oh, well, last year was just a weird year, 2022, and we're just going to need more time to evaluate this. So yeah, it looks like, and then if we scrolling down through here, they go into an area where they talk about trail use by time of day. And of course, most people start their trips between 9 and 10 a.m. So if you don't want to deal with crowds on Old Rag, you could probably start out at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or even 8 a.m. and you're probably not really going to deal with any crowds. Now, if you set out to go into the park right during the heart of the day, you're probably going to have some congestion at certain points along your way, no matter where you're going in the park. I just drove in to Shenandoah last week. We went in the Thornton Gap area. My buddy Rob and I shot over from DC. It's a quick trip over. We went over and hiked Hazel Mountain and did a nice trail there, put in about 8.5 miles. Waited at the gate for 20 minutes to get in. I don't know what the holdup was. I don't know why it takes 5 minutes for one car to get through the gate, but that seems to be the case. And of course, they only had one entrance open, even though there were 2 gates available. And of course, they have an employee-only lane. And what I suggest is if you're having backups and park congestion at the gates, maybe put in more gates and actually open them and staff them. And you could probably also have a pass lane for folks like myself who have the America the Beautiful pass. We could probably don't even need to man that. You could probably have a little scanner there. But of course, that would make things too easy, and the parks wouldn't be able to argue that they're all congested all the time. So they probably won't be moving to any sort of automated system such as that. Nevertheless, there is a meeting tomorrow. You can voice your concerns in a timely manner over there. That is April 17th, Monday, at 7 p.m. The Zoom meeting is linked in the description below, and there's also a link to this document, the Old Rag Visitor Use Monitoring Pilot Program 2022 Annual Report. Guys, thanks for joining me. I'm going to jump out of here. If you'd like to check me out over on my Substack, I should tell you about that, the Park Junkies Public Land Press, where I discuss these issues. I'm writing about issues that concern public access to public lands, as well as check me out over on my Twitter account, my Instagram account at The Park Junkie, Facebook Park Junkie as well, and I've recently even adopted a TikTok account at The Park Junkie as well. ParkJunkie.com for all your fix for national park info. All of my guides to the 63 national parks are posted over there. So I'll keep you posted on adventures that are coming up this spring. I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.